See this huge crowd. What a wonderful tradition. And when Robert Bain called to ask me to introduce the speakers, I said I'd be mighty pleased. You know, I'm a Ruritan. I'm proud to be a Virginian. And I remember so well Bill Bowling's stirring address 1 year ago about the Virginia Tech tragedy. And so there's so many great reasons for all of us to come together today and to enjoy the Shad planking. I also said, well, if I could introduce Larry Sabato back in 2004, I could probably handle this crowd today. And since we've got Mark Warner outnumbered 2-1, Mark, you might want to reconsider this race. The tradition of having the speakers be the candidates for a major office goes back to 2001, when Mark Early and I were the three speakers that year, the first year that they broke with tradition and didn't have just one speaker. So this is in keeping with that same tradition here at the Shad planking. Now, there was a major coin flip behind the stage a few minutes ago, and the order was determined, and in that order today the first speaker will be former Governor Mark Warner. Mark lives in Alexandria with his three daughters. He served as governor of the Commonwealth from 2002 to 2006. He focused on problems with education, water quality improvement, and economic development in some of the more distressed areas of our state. He led the National Governors Association in 2004. Mark is a former high-tech executive, founding the company now known as Nextel, and he has announced last September that he would be running for the Democratic Party nomination for the U.S. Senate.
Thank you, John, for that introduction. It's a great day to be at Shad planking. I want to take a moment, though, as I'm sure all the speakers will, and acknowledge the first anniversary of the tragic events at Virginia Tech. I know that while we're here, a piece of all of us, and our thoughts and prayers, are with those that was touched by the tragedy. I think that event reminds us that life is precious and that we've got to value family, friends, and traditions. And here today, at the ultimate Virginia political tradition, the Shad planking, where occasionally we may spar and joke a little bit, I hope we'll also remember that our political differences pale in comparison to what binds us together, first and foremost, as Virginians and Americans. But in the tradition of Shad planking, let's get back to Virginia politics. Good politics. Now, I got to tell you, John, I agree. I looked at this lineup here, and I felt a little outnumbered. Two Republican candidates running against me for the nomination for the Senate seat, and I was just introduced by the chairman of the Virginia Republican Party. Now, John Hager and I have been friends for almost 20 years. We worked together on the Virginia Health Care Commission. He served in my cabinet in the Office of Commonwealth Preparedness. Now, I know, John, that there's some in the GOP that are giving you grief for working for me, or working with me. So Republican activists, listen up here. John Hager always wore his Ronald Reagan button to every cabinet meeting. And he always sat on the right side of the cabinet table. And let me assure you, if that wasn't enough, I cannot think of a single action that would show more commitment and devotion to the Republican Party than allowing his son to marry into the president's family when the president had 28% approval ratings. Now, I can't imagine that it would be an easy job being chairman of the Republican Party when Governor Gilmore and Bob Marshall are competing to see who can be the most conservative. Governor Gilmore ran for president as the one true conservative. And Bob Marshall, let me assure you, has spent his career in the General Assembly proving those conservative credentials. You know, politics can be a funny business, Virginia politics especially. I have to tell you in all truthfulness, I would never think I would see the day when either Jim Gilmore or Bob Marshall would be accused of not being far enough to the right. Now, this is an important political year, an important year for our nation. We're going to elect a new president. We're going to elect the members of the House. We're going to elect 33 senators, one here from Virginia. And let me be the first to say how much all Virginians, all of us, regardless of our political affiliation, will miss John Warner. He served this Commonwealth and this country. He always put the interest of Virginia and America first. And I got to tell you, I'm proud to call him a friend. Of course, some of you, it was one of my earlier Shad plankings, may remember that I actually ran against John Warner back in 1996. I got the silver medal. You know, I was the cell phone guy from Nova, running against a Virginia political institution. But as you know, we had the same last name. So our campaign that year thought, how can we tell the difference? Our one great idea was we had this bumper strip, said Mark, not John on it. The problem was, a lot of places I would travel around Virginia, people come up to me, look at me and say, I see that bumper strip. Is that a biblical reference? Well, I got to tell you, this year, we're not sure who our opponent will be. So we've come up in an effort to be fully prepared, no matter what happens, with a new bumper strip. And guys, I think you'll like it. Mark, not Jim Bob. Governor, I mean, think that might be viewed as a country music reference this time? But you got to be prepared. Matter of fact, when I was governor, some in Richmond, particularly in the press corps, said I had a tendency sometimes to be a little, well, too intense, maybe a little over-prepared. Maybe that explains the signs on the way in today. I assure you they will be coming down and being reused. But I guess after all those signs going up, so much for the Sierra Club endorsement. But I will be going after every Virginian to ask for their support in this job application process. I want to serve in the United States Senate because I think this is a defining moment for our nation. I'm 53 years old. I can't think of a time when our country has faced more enormous challenges simultaneously than right now. We see new threats to our security, threats to our energy supply, threats to our economy.